Greeting, friends from St. Francis. Brian Lombardi here on our final week of the Practice of Presence of God by Brother Lawrence. As we say now, the baseball season started. We're rounding third and heading for home. So one of the things about his life after all the writings were over and after he passed away, like most of us, there were things that were transpired and found out about him after he had passed away. One of the key things that they went through as they were going through the belongings long after the funeral and the normal circumstances of death was just going through his things, and they found these maxims we had were a lot of times were just notes he had made and little scribblings here and there in his cell, and the brothers had to, of course, go in and put away his things, and that's when they brought in Joseph de Beaufort and started looking at him and talking with him about everything that he had experienced with Brother Lawrence. And together, the brothers there and Joseph de Beaufort decided, hey, we need to document some of this stuff, because what he's saying is actually applicable to something, to combat something that's going wrong in the church at that time. So back in the 1700s, even the 1800s, there was a real movement, what now we would call quietism, which is saying it doesn't really matter. All I need is a relationship between me and God. It's just between me and God, that's all. And I go quietly inside myself, and I pray, and that's important. That's all that's important. And the problem, of course, as we know with that now, is that it's not just between us and God. Yes, God is divinely interior to us, but he's also, as Brother Lawrence taught, in all the things around, in the dead tree and in the things we do during the day and in the cooking and all the things we do. God is in the middle of that, as interrelationally with each other. So they found this book to be really important to combat quietism, to say, yes, while you all know that Brother Lawrence lived a life of conversing with God, he also lived a life of serving God through serving others. So don't make it all about just me and God. And it combated some of the things that were going on in the church. Again, anti-clericalism and things like that. People were starting to say part of Protestant Reformation was all that. It's just, the church is too big, it's too complex, there's too much theology going on. I just need me and God. And so there is a balance there. And that's really what this book helped us to see, that yes, there's both and. So going into the maxims for today, we believe we start on page 64. There's, in the longer version, there's a little bit more vernacular put to these. The first one, there's just one sentence here. It says, the first way in which the soul is united with God is through salvation solely by his grace. That's, of course, the Protestants like that's the, grace alone is enough. And while we believe that, of course, as Catholics, we call that the habitual union in the book, which is basically we're a purchased people. There's nothing we need to do to be saved other than participates in God's plan and will for us. And that's the backside that's missing from that. But the basic truth of we are purchased people solely by his grace is the basis. The second thing he says to reach union with God, you need to understand, though, is that there is also a virtual, meaning virtuous, union with God that we're called to participate in. So we can't say we're saved only and then live an unvirtuous life. And that was the part of what he's really getting at here, is that we have to find and do things to bring us in a closer union, to be in the presence of God and what we do and say. The third part, which is what this book was really based on, was an actual union, an intimate union, as it's called, where we realize that I love you with all my heart. God, everything I am is because of you, and everything I do is for you. So there's that next level of personal union down that this book gives. On page 65, it also kind of gives us a little bit of a plan or path for that. It basically says sometimes it's helpful to disengage the sentiments of the will from the world in order to focus entirely on God. And a lot of that was based on this theory we've been talking about of detachment, of disengaging or detaching from our will and things we want to do, is how we get to that intimate union with God. So that letter's good theological treatise on that stuff. On page 66, just a nice quick summary of the purpose of what we're doing, remembering that he is always present and keeping him present in when we're talking to conversation with people. Just you can dwell in that peace and people will come to you for that if you stay in the presence of God and let him nourish the soul. And then finally, our last work is on page 68, and it's very similar to what we had in the earlier one today, where basically the faith, hope, and love is that the virtue of faith, hope, and love are foundational and core to what we do, but also to make it faithfully practiced, to make it habitual, and to always keep in mind that God is different than the world, and we need to go to him and acquire his presence as much as possible. So those were the main things. Oh, got one more at the end. Sorry. And it's very similar on the last page 70. Is that this theological virtue of God as the origin, the motive, and the object. So these are all things we know. It's just seeing them in the words and written down by such a holy person. It's just the confirmations we need. So, but I know as you read those and pray about those, sometimes they work in more interiorly than I could ever talk about in this type of thing. So again, thank you so much for taking the time to let me share my thoughts with you. I think overall, we had a small group discussion yesterday about it. In the closing, we basically said, I went around the room and said, what's your impression of the book? What did you get out of it? How does it affect you? And to a person, everybody said, I just have a deeper understanding that God dwells within me and that I need to go simple rather than complex, rather than go to chase so many complex ideas that usually wear me down. I just need to go quietly with God. And we also just reminded ourselves, yes, but that also means in doing it, seated conversationally with God and with each other. So hopefully that would be something that will impact you and stay with you for a very long time. I know as it did me. I'd also like to just let you know that there are people that make this more of their daily life. I'm a Carmelite secular order, which is a community of people we have here in the Cleveland, Akron area. And we are called to prayer. And that's really our charism, is to just be in deeper union with God through prayer, both here internally and otherwise. So if you're interested in that, and that's something that you might want to pursue or just want to ask some questions, you can feel free to reach out to me. At daily mass, I'm usually easy to find around the parish, or contact the office if you can't find me for some reason. So as we prepare for Passiontide, the Triduum, and now heading into our Easter season, hopefully a lot of this, what you've read and experienced this Lent, will be fruitful. Again, thank you for taking the time to listen. God bless you and your family on this Easter season.